Well, last but not least is me. You know, it's always encouraging when you have friends like Chris Finsky who ask, are you going to go long? And I said, no, I will go as quickly as I can, just for you. But, you know, I'm teaching this semester. It's the first time I've taught, you know, in a few years. And so I always appreciate the honesty of students. So a couple weeks ago, I get an email from a student and says, hey, just wanted to ask if it'd be okay if I skip your class. And I keep reading through this because I've got a really tough math test, and I would rather skip your class to study for the math test. So I just responded politely that math is not necessary, so please come to my class. So, love the math department. You know, in my update, you know, one of the things that's now been labeled the great disconnect of 7-Eleven, so obviously academic affairs has been doing many things technology related that has not necessarily been our forte. So we've kind of put some things on hold as far as new initiatives, new updates, but I did want to kind of give you guys just a brief overview of kind of what we've been doing, what we're looking forward to, and kind of plans for the future. So you can see up on the screen, there's just some things that we're kind of looking at, kind of moving more forward, and some of this is probably going to be done, in all honesty, more in the spring than the fall. You know, and I'll do an HLC update here in a second, but one of the things, when I talked to you, it was this time last year, I gave an HLC update, and one of the things that we were notified on was assessment. That is an area that we need to improve on. So one of the things I've asked Stephanie Witcher to do is kind of lead a group on what's called the assessment committee, looking at best practices, looking at kind of forward thinking, and just doing those things. You know, and I'm one of those ones, I even say assessment, and it's kind of been one of those cringeworthy words because it's like, that's more work, that's more to do, but really trying to make this something that's more meaningful within your classroom. So that has already started and will be continuing into the spring. While not a new committee, curriculum committee, new leadership. Dr. Sherry Wilson is now the leader of curriculum, and so she has been taking that role, and it's been going well so far. So I wanted to acknowledge that her efforts, so thank you for serving on that, and that's moving forward in its regular fashion. Faculty handbook. This has been one of those things that's kind of been on my radar for a couple years. Some of you may not even know we have one, but on that Emphasis S drive, we've got this thing, and it's called Faculty Handbook. And so as I've been looking through there, there's no revision dates, there's no dates, so I've kind of talked to several folks on this, and it's kind of like, I don't know if that policy is what we follow, and it's like, well, it's in the handbook, and it's next to the employee handbook. So there's been a group of 6, 7 brave individuals that we're actually going to meet later this afternoon that's going to start kind of putting together a game plan of what is this, how is it going to be implemented, what's going to be used for. So kind of look for that in the near future of things that can happen. You know, with that, that's been one of the things I've been trying to do is work on is we do have a lot of things out there that we refer to as a policy or procedure that we don't necessarily have even a revision date. So was this 1963 this was implemented? Was this last year? And so that's been kind of one of my goals is to kind of go through there and track certain things. As I look around the room, some of you have department handbooks that are very up to date. Well, this is going to be something just kind of more of for us as faculty to determine, you know, what are those policies and procedures we want and we want to follow. Final schedule. One of the things we've got a group looking at, you know, revising, you know, we've run into some issues with how the current system is in place with times and dates. So we've got a group looking at that, trying to find out, you know, what is a better way of kind of scheduling our finals. Again, a couple other updates. LPM program has started in Nevada. That has happened this fall, so it's kind of an exciting part of our new program. We did receive a grant or House bill monies, which is called, to kind of help us get that program off the ground and do some other things in nursing. But that has started this fall. Cassville is being renovated. If you haven't had a chance, if you do go by Cassville, it looks completely different. So that has put in well over $1 million in that. They're not completed yet. I think it's going to be a spring project that'll be done, but they're going to really renovate that whole campus and make it look a lot better. The other thing I wanted to update you on, I didn't necessarily have it on the screen, is as we do lunch and learns, one of the things I did get feedback from division chairs when I met with them this summer is trying to bring in some outside resources, outside speakers. So for April, we have secured an outside speaker, still working on February, but just kind of giving a new perspective. You know, a lot of times we've brought the same people up here time and time again. I know y'all want to hear me every time, so I thought you might applaud for that, but that's okay. But, you know, bringing in kind of what I would call new ideas, fresh blood, just to kind of give us a new perspective on different things. You know, most of you have heard this before, but I do, you know, every year, I do just kind of give an HLC update just because in the room we have new faculty members that may not be familiar with this. And while HLC is our main accreditor, I think it is important that we continue to update folks on what they do and what, you know, why it is we're accredited. As you can see there, again, I've used this slide before, HLC is the largest accrediting agency in the nation. So they do 19 states, which Missouri is one of them. You can see pretty much goes from Arizona to West Virginia is where they have, and it's almost, I think they said about 1,900 institutions, so not quite 2,000. So that is our main accreditor, HLC. The reason that's important to us, you know, that's how we receive our financial aid funding, and that's how our credits transfer to other institutions that are accredited. Within what we would call our, you know, criteria for accreditation, HLC looks at 5 things. Again, I won't read through them, but you can see each one has a specific kind of mission or assessment, teaching and learning. Why all these are important is that's when an HLC reviewer, when they come in and they'll look at these things. For example, you know, on the mission, how are we acting out our mission? Is that incorporated within our classroom? Is that incorporated in student affairs, financial affairs? So each of these, you know, have an important aspect to them. Again, criterion 4, that's kind of where the area we're needing improvement on, and that was assessment. The other one was a little bit of criterion 5, which was governance. One of the things I reported, I think it was last year, but just as a reminder, we need to do a better job, not necessarily faculty, but as an institution, getting students involved in some of our governance decision making. So, for example, a lot of times you'll see at other institutions, you might have a student government present at the board on different needs and stuff like that. So been working with Dr. Colthorpe on that as far as getting their voice heard and making sure that they have a voice at this institution. And the other thing is probably just planning documents, just having that overall plan on different things implemented. So again, kind of been one of my focuses. We are in what's called the open pathway. So if you want to impress your friends on a Friday night, say we are the open pathway for HLC. That is new. Many of you remember we were AQUIP. That has changed. Now we're considered an open pathway institution. You can kind of see it's a 10-year plan or 10-year structure that we follow. And we are in kind of years 5 and 7, which we're working on what's called a quality of initiative proposal. Those that are familiar with the AQUIP terms, that would be like a systems portfolio. But you can see each year we're following different things. Right now, we are accredited till the academic year of 2023. So in theory, that's when our next visit will be. You know, I've been asked by some of you, will HLC ever come visit before then? Not typically, but we can be visited at any point. What that might mean is if there was something severe they noticed, they got a report, and it was kind of, I'm trying to think of a drastic example, but it would be like we decided just to not offer any degrees one semester. They might decide to come out and say, okay, what are you doing? You know, that type of thing. But typically, HLC will not come revisit you without a strong reason. So academic year 2023 probably be actually in the year 2024 that they would come. So other things that are happening in HLC, you know, I've had the pleasure of being on different review teams myself, so being on the other side, you know, again, accreditation, or not accreditation, assessment, governance, those have been kind of what I would call the buzzwords here lately. So as we proceed in the next year of 2020, that's one of the things we're going to focus on. Chris, I'm done early, so, you know. Yeah, I wish my class would clap when I finish early, but they don't do that. Again, Faculty Association, so I'm going to turn that over to Chris Finsky and Ryan Combs.